Hello, fire service, can you hear me? Right, Aaron, this casualty's not breathing and he's unconscious. We need to relocate this car and do a snatch rescue.
Come on over. Let's relocate this vehicle. Handbrake off, Rog. Right. Net in neutral.
Okay. Okay, rest there. Okay, I'm getting full.
Getting in here, Craig.
Yep, get in front. Okay, Cam, come round.
Yeah, come round. Like there.
You got him? Yep. Okay, mate. Okay. Okay, let's get him across here.
Please. Lower.
Okay, lower. Watch your head. Okay, Kieran, get me the trauma pack and the defib, mate, please.
Yeah, 5 metres.
Yeah.
What we saw there was a patient who was unconscious with probably no breathing or ineffective breathing, which is, readily identifiable. I guess we've already touched on the idea that quite often this might be a non-clinical responder arriving on scene first. And I guess, legitimately there could be some concerns from that group of responder to think, crikey, this feels like quite a big call to make. When am I going to, physically get this patient out of the car as quickly as I can, with very little sort of regard for comfort? So obviously that unconscious patient who's probably not breathing is coming out. But what other situations can we sort of define that might be useful for that non-clinical group to think, right, fine, I've got it in my head, this is when I'm going to drag the patient out in a snatch rescue?
Yeah, well, I think a lot of what we're talking about here and a lot of what we've been going through is about pragmatism, isn't it? Backed up by evidence, backed up by statements. And what we're looking at is situations when there's an immediate threat to life. Now, that might be the patient, so it might be their injuries, it might be a medical event that's happened whilst they've been at the wheel, but it also might be the environment. So if you've got somebody from a medical perspective who, as you've described, looks like there is an immediate threat to life, they're going to have a snatch rescue and come out. If you've got a situation such as fire, flood, immediate safety concerns on scene that you think is going to threaten, there is a threat to life for that patient, then we're going to be doing a snatch as well. So those two big things. But really, the pragmatism to then feel empowered to be able to get that patient out quickly and then to be able to address those problems.
Yeah, and I think the idea of it being deliverable quickly is the thing as well, isn't it? So, we know that Self-Ex can be delivered in, 30 seconds approximately. Snatch rescue is going to be, again, a similar sort of time frame, 30 seconds from arrival, getting hands onto that patient and getting them out of the vehicle. So these are, fast, aren't they, I think is the thing.
Yeah. And I think probably, although we're talking about this, in some ways, this group of patients are the ones that you shouldn't have to think about.
Yeah.
If you arrive and the patient is unconscious and looking really unwell, or there's an environmental risk, then they need to come out. And I think, you should feel empowered and justified to do that snatch rescue.
Yeah, and I think historically, the police, highways, fire and rescue, this is the group that haven't really caused that much concern about what to do because it's readily obvious, isn't it, what you need to do? You need to crack on and, save that patient's life by doing some care. So seems like we've ticked off number 2 on the old extrication decision tool, doesn't it? So let's have a little look at number 3, potentially where things got a bit complicated before.